about your consumers?
The thing is, we know exactly why we want that information, and we're completely open about it. So, for instance, you have to forget digital because it just completely blurs the issue. If you have a small shop, for instance, and I will give you an example. Local guy, he's got a sandwich shop. I go in there once. I say, I want that sandwich, those crisps, that Coke. I bought Coke, and
because
so
of the Ben Harper video.
Second time I go in, I order the same stuff because I'm really boring and I like security, and it kind of gets confusing if I have to have too many options. And he says, and I go to pick up the Coke, I put it on the counter, and he says, that's free. Because he knows. And then the next time I go in there, he knows my sandwich. He just says, same again. And so I start to get this rapport with the guy who I'm trading with. That is a real relationship between a producer and a consumer, where you understand what the consumer's habits are, what their tastes are, and you can serve them better. You can do them deals. You can do all that kinds of shit. When I see the retail channels going down the pan, and I'm thinking, my God, my business depends on the existence of retail channels that don't understand the customers that they're selling to, that's bad news. So I think I better step in now, create my own retail channel, and start speaking to the customers directly so I actually know what they want.
And the information you gain in the exercise, is this something that you're willing to monetize?
We sell it to the FBI and the CIA, but that's about it.
Well, they might not pay you enough for it, but would your vision of the digital future include selling the information about how many of your customers, prefer Coke to Pepsi, let's say, in your sandwich shop example?
At the moment, that's not in our plans.
Okay, can you rule it out for the future?
I can't rule out anything for the future.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Ted, your take on this. Consumer tracking.
Two things. There's two kinds of consumer tracking. There's aggregate anonymous consumer tracking, which I think is incredibly valuable. I think knowing what people do en masse by zip code, by area, by demographic, without knowing that it's this woman right here, but knowing that it's a woman her age who lives wherever you live, and this is her behavior, it helps shape retail patterns and know what to do. I'm of the mind, I sign up for everything. I click every permission box. I assume that the government already knows everything I'm doing, so why shouldn't Marks and Spencer know what I'm doing? I mean, everybody else knows. And if it can give me a better consumer experience, if it does get me that the guy knows what I want, and it recommends music to me, I sign up for every personalization, every recommendation thing. And I don't think that there's this dynamic tension with music fans between wanting a great experience and this thing about privacy. And yet the same people that have been concerned about protecting their privacy sign up for LimeWire or Kazaa or sign up for any other service that basically has access to everything on their hard drive. And I'm not being, this is not a fear thing, it's true. I mean, when I worked at Napster, we could see everything on your hard drive and know exactly what you had. So I think letting go a bit, the same way that the labels need to let go, consumers need to let go and realize that the more they're willing to share their likes, their dislikes, their behavior, the better the experience is going to be. Just one last thing. I worked on a project for a hotel in Vegas for a short time where you were going to have a little pin they gave you when you checked in. When you walked in the TV went to HBO. If you liked HBO, the temperature in the room went to 68 degrees. It basically knew who you were as you walked around the hotel. If you sat down at the bar, the bartender was that friend of yours. Even though he'd never met you before, he knew that you liked a margarita with salt blended.
Westworld.
What?
Westworld.
Westworld. It was, but it was going to be an amazing experience. They're still working on it. We didn't get all the kinks out of it. Some of the robots went crazy, but...
So let's move to the last question. We're running horribly behind. I can sense that everybody's hungry. I'm starting to feel it too.
Are we between them and a meal? Let's go.
The easy choice. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about social networking sites and the basic Web 2.0 approach to music. Mm-hmm. What's the role in this, in your view, of having a digital dream that actually has money at the end?
Okay. I mean, there's certain views which I've read about, and there's also my own activities playing around with those things and being a real user of those services. But there's one view which I read recently from Mark Mulligan, who's quite a good voice around this area, and he's saying that he feels that the social music sites, as they're called, from Last.fm, Pandora, YouTube, and so on and so forth, that they are like a beta test for the commercial future of music. They are showing the way that people actually like to consume music and how, in unrestricted ways. I mean, those sites haven't really got their cost models together right, and they're not really functioning. They may or may not survive, but there are a lot of hints in the way that people are consuming music now that we should take note of.
Ted, is that the future of music?
It is the future of music. I mean, to be transparent, I'm on the board of iMeme, which is one of the music social networks. I also am on the advisory board for Pandora and Echo Nest and a couple of the other recommendation engines, because I believe it's all about social. And Echo Nest, which is a company I'm not really involved in on a day-to-day basis, when I first saw them 3 years ago, I just thought it was the most amazing thing, because they're combining music recommendation the way Pandora does it, which is listening to music, with social recommendation. Seeing what your friends are listening to, what people like you are doing, and the quality of the feedback is amazing. So I think that is the future. I mean, in the companies that we advise, I mean, my day job now is consulting for a combination of startups and big companies. Working with the startups, we continually push them to have some integration function into the social networks so that they're not living as this appendage outside, like, oh, we're really cool and people are going to come here. No, they're not. But if you were a feature on Facebook or iMeme or MySpace, then people would utilize that tool. But you're a tool, not a stand. You're not a destination.
Well, aren't labels really just using the social networking sites as a marketing tool? You have a new release.
Well, it's the same way they used MTV, the same way they used, Capital Radio.
Right. So what does that in and of itself have to do with the actual revenue generating question? We have this digital dream. We're adapting our business, but how are we going to make money with music? So, how does this work? Is there a role beyond?
I think it's becoming more authentic, though. I think the bottom line is you can use social networks to get attention, but at the end of the day, I think you need to have the goods more than you had to have the goods before. I don't think you can create the same kind of phenomenons. I think at the end of the day, people are going to discover great music, and the tools that are out there, the social networks, are getting you to it. I think we're too focused. Continually, people are focused on digital stunts. Yeah. They're going to get attention for something where the payoff isn't there.
Yeah, one of the big, Arctic Monkeys and Liliana, right. And in a sense, that was the right use of those social networks for promoting a new artist, and it was really, really successful. But we're so savvy now, we see it, we're cynical, we say, well, we know what you're doing, you're trying to sell to us. So it doesn't work the second time round. Right. Recommendation engines, I mean, there's some guys here from a company called mFlow. If you get to meet them, check it out, it's amazing. It's just a really, really simple recommendation tool, and as you say, it plugs straight into iTunes, and it goes in there and your friends recommend, and you actually get kickback in terms of money and, well, points for buying music. And that kind of thing. That's where the future lies. Moved into that area.
Unfortunately, we agree.
Well, there's no problem with agreeing here. But to me, the real question is, okay, so we have these new music consumption patterns developing. We've got a Web 2.0 approach. We've got Spotify. We've got YouTube. We've got all these wonderful things going on. But at the end of the day, is the point of all this marketing and promotion in order to sell music? Yes or no?
I think, no, it's not to sell music. It's to find an audience.
Rudy?
I agree with Ted.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go have lunch.